Welcome, everybody. This is another episode. Shit, hold on, my dad's calling me.
Está bien.
Yeah, manda saludos, viejo. Manda saludos, estás en el internet. Tú, viejo. Álvaro. Álvaro. Papá. Papá. Manda saludos al internet. Manda saludos a la gente del internet. Say hello to the people on the internet so you can say hello to them.
Yeah, hello, this is Álvaro from Colombia. I live near from Cartagena, Colombia. I used to live in the United States for 45 years, okay? I talk to you. I would like to see you in the future, okay? Take it easy. Don't work too much because more money you make it, you don't have time to spend, okay? Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Sorry, I had a burp like right then and there. And it's still burping. Yeah, so let's see. Now, so I guess with that whole kind of, so that was my dad, calling me all the way from Colombia, and I love my dad, I really do. My dad is one of the people that I look up to for certain things. But him and I had a pretty bad falling out not that long ago. I would say, yeah, long ago now, actually. Say probably about 8-9 years ago, somewhere around there. And it mostly had to do with I wasn't upset that him and my mom got divorced. I was more upset at the way that he handled it. And I think it's because I probably would have handled it differently. I mean, I know I would have handled it differently. But then again, I can't blame him. I mean, shit, like I can't blame either of my parents for some of the shit things that they did in their early years of parenting. Because I was the firstborn. You know, I'm the oldest in my family. Like, I got my ass beat by branches, coat hangers, cups, sticks, belts, extension cords. Like, I got my ass beat by a lot of things. And back then, you know, you couldn't call child services. I couldn't call for help. It was, hey, your parents beat your ass. Okay, cool. What are you gonna do about it? I mean, nothing. Just try and not get my ass beat again. Basically it. Or try and not get caught to get my ass beat again. Like, it was seeing how I grew up relative to what a lot of kids that I see nowadays or things that I see on TV. And it's always the same shit. It's always these kids are soft. These kids are they're pussies. They didn't have it as tough as we did. And it's, I mean, the truth is they fucking didn't. That doesn't mean that they don't have it hard in their own fucking way. Right? I'd spoken to one of my friends who was a teacher in I think it was middle school or elementary school, one of those two. But she was telling me that back in school, in her class, the fights that kids get over are fights over Instagram, are fights over Snapchat, are fights over any other shit like that. Like, you said this about me, and now I'm gonna fucking smash your head in. You had a picture of a meme and it had my face on it, and now I'm gonna fucking beat your ass. And I mean, how is that any different than the type of shit that we went through? We just didn't have social media. So, I mean, so what did we do? You heard somebody say something to somebody else, and then it went all the way around 15, 20, 30 people till it came back to you and said, hey, you know what? Joe over there, he called your mom a cunt. Then you'd say, what the fuck did Joe say? I'm gonna go fuck that fool up. And you went, you confronted him, and you fought. Turns out that he did call your mom a cunt, and that he's also a much better fighter than you are. So you didn't win that fight, but you stepped up to it, right? Now the kids, from what I've seen, they do the same shit. It's no different. And to be honest, I think thinking about it, it is absolutely fucking hilarious that the adults are the generation that says kids getting upset over shit they see on social media are pussies when they themselves get upset over shit they see on social media. They themselves get riled up and fucking type essays and DM people vulgar shit and things like that. It's like, how are you going to call them a pussy if you're a pussy? Doesn't make any sense, huh? So, I mean, I guess like I can't blame my parents for the shit that they did because they thought it was fine back then. I mean, it's true. Like, I'll never forget this time. This is probably this is single-handedly the reason why I have tattoos, which I'm the only one in my family, at least from my immediate brothers, that has tattoos. And the reason I have it is because I was in the 6th grade, and in my class, keep in mind, I was in a magnet school, so I was like a very focused on math and science school because I was smart up until my ADHD kicked in, and then I became a fucking loser. But prior to that, I was smart. Prior to my hormones kicking in, I was a smart kid, and so I'm I go to this school. I go to this magnet class. They basically, you have like 3 classes where our actual education, and the rest is all basically fucking science projects. And you mess around and do shit in chemistry. You make crystals, and then you fucking go see whales, fucking 3 days a week. And then you have this day where you work on this fucking egg statue thing. I don't fucking know, a bunch of shit like that. But I was basic. If you guys remember Malcolm in the Middle, the show Malcolm in the Middle, I was a Krell boy. I was smart. If you don't get that reference, go fuck yourself. But so in this fucking school, we had a book fair, right? Remember, I mean, obviously, if you're a parent, you know what book fairs are. They still have them for kids. If you don't have kids, or you're a piece of shit parent, kids have book fairs. You go, you buy books in school, these crazy random, a lot of arts and crafts stuff. One of the things I really fucking wanted was stamps. I wanted these stamps because I thought they were great. And I had gotten them, and I took them to school, and I put stamps on my hands. Stamps, fucking stamps, stamping the shit out of myself. Why? Because I thought it looked cool. I was like, here's a stamp. Not even joking. The stamp was a snowflake on my hand. Now, now you try and show that to Latino parents who their entire life have associated tattoos with gang members. Not to mention, I was going to this magnet school in East LA, which is pretty ghetto. That's where you see a lot of the big gangs, like 18th Street. You see Mexican Mafia there. You see MS-13. You see Florencia, Mara Salvatrucha. Like you see these fucking gangs that basically kill people and like lynch them in the fucking street kind of thing. And I got this stamp, for whatever reason, this day, my dad decided to pick me up from school because I missed the bus because, again, my hormones were kicking in. I became an idiot. And he saw the stamp and he got so fucking mad. So mad. He got so mad. Keep in mind, he was driving a stick shift car at that time, a stick shift 1984 white Toyota Tacoma. He's driving this fucking truck, shifting, right? It still had like the manual seat. It still had like the roll down windows. So he's like rolling down the window, getting on the freeway, shifting from third to fourth gear, pushing the clutch. He's doing the whole thing. He looks over at me and he sees the stamp. In Spanish, he says, "What the fuck is that gay shit on your hand?" Dead quiet. I'm dead ass quiet. It's a stamp my teacher gave me. Your teacher gave you a gay cholo stamp? I mean, kind of. Kind of? When you're nervous, you stutter. You just get. I was sweating bullets at this moment. Because at that point, I mean, I'd already gotten my ass beat a shitload of times, but not like this. Not like this. Not over a stamp. I got the shit beat out of me before. I got the shit beat out of me once, and very understandably, because I was told by my parents not to ride my bicycle in an apartment complex next to where we lived, and I did anyway, and I ran over a 2-year-old and cut his head right open. I understand that ass beating. That ass beating was very justified. Very. 100%. I panicked, dropped my bike, fled the scene of the crime, hid under my bed, as if that would fucking do anything. This time I was sweating bullets because I didn't think it was justified. I was like, it's a fucking stamp. Like, I don't understand. It's a snowflake. You know, let it go. Let it go. Let it go. However the fuck that song goes. In the car, in the middle of shifting, he's shifting from third to fourth gear, getting on the freeway, gives no fucks, puts that bitch in fourth, grabs me by my fucking arm, pulls me towards me, like yanks my arm toward me. So he's pulling me this way. He's pulling me to the left towards him. And in the process of pulling me, just like my dad trained in boxing. So my dad just pulled me in, boom, just rope-a-dope, and then immediately jabbed me in the fucking head. Just, he pulled, popped me right in the fucking side of the head. Didn't let go of my hand the whole time, and still kept up with traffic on the freeway. Still kept up with speed. He was still clutching and shifting the whole time. And he just says, "You want to be a fucking gangster?" I was like, no, I don't want to be a gangster. I just, it's a stamp. It's a snowflake. It's pretty. You want to be a fucking gangster? You want to be like those fucking gangster losers? You want to do drugs and sell drugs and walk around with your pants down by your ass? You want to be like one of those faggots? At this point, I am fucking tearing up. My cheek's starting to get red from the little pop jab he gave me on the side of my face. And I was just like, I was done. He's like, "You want to be a man? You want to be a fucking man?" Grabs his big ass dad fist, you know, because I mean, it's my dad. when you're at that age, you have he's like, I think he was like 50 at that time, so somewhere around there, 50 something, 40 something, 50, 40, 40, almost 50. And he's got a big old fucking construction worker hands, and he's like, "You want to be a fucking man?" Puts his fist against my face, and I'm like fucking leaning out to the side of the car door, just like, no, 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 it was a fucking stamp. It was a fucking stamp. That's probably the only reason I got tattoos was because of that whole scenario. Granted, I got home, still got my ass beat. Latino parents like this thing. They like to have their kids kneel on hard floors because it hurts your knees like shit. They used to have you do that. Sometimes they make you carry books also in your hands, or a bucket of things, just because it was heavy, so it like would hurt more on your knees. Fucking torture. It's guerrilla warfare parents and shit. Um, and and so I still got my ass beat after that, but like that was his way of trying to like do the whole scared straight thing, like when they do in the jail shows, right? When the kids are just little bad pieces of shit, they try and scare them straight, they send them to jail, they do all this fucking they put them with like these really really hood thugs that are just, when you come in here, I'm gonna fuck you in the ass, boy. Things like that. um but that was just his way of doing it. I got home, my mom yelled at me also, she got mad, did the whole thing, but like it was his way of basically trying to tell me that he didn't know how to express that he was afraid that I was getting into that life and he wanted me not to. But he did it with a punch in the face. Not the best way. I get it. And it was, I guess the reason I'm mentioning this story is just because like he did a lot of things back then that I know and that I've spoken to him since that he's not proud of, and he's admitted so. And it makes no sense to me. Um, Even though I did do it for a time where I stayed upset at him, like I stayed mad. I stayed mad because there was, overall, my dad was a good dad. My dad was a great dad overall, but he didn't know how to express his emotion. He didn't know how to say he loved you or you did a good job. That was not in his fucking vocabulary. Instead of saying good job, it was more like, that's the least you can fucking do. Get good grades, do the chores. That's the minimum of what you need to do around here to make me happy. And I talked to him multiple times since and kind of expressed these feelings towards him. And it brought me to that point where the child in me died. I'll say died, but the father-son relationship that was when I was younger and when he was younger is not there anymore. That entire relationship had to completely be destroyed for us to create a new one. For us to create a new one where I would show him respect when he would show me respect. And we talk to each other on a different level now. And it took a long time for that to happen. It took a long time for me to apologize for things that I did wrong in kind of handling conversations with him or approaching him. And there was things that I shouldn't have said to him. And things that I shouldn't have threatened him with. I did threaten to beat his ass once. I did. And I could have, but there's no point in that. It doesn't benefit anybody. Aside from him whooping me for things that he thought was wrong and the way of discipline me, he never beat my ass for any other reason. And him vice versa. He apologized. He just said there was a lot of things that I didn't know what to do. He goes, I didn't know how to be a dad. And because here's the thing, like all of our all of our relationships with all of our peers in our life and our experience through everything that we do is based off of what we lived, right? Our circumstances. You know, I know that whatever development that I've had throughout my life, that I say that I will, kind of regurgitate and barf into my future offspring or my kids, is going to be in part a lot of things that my parents taught me or my parents did to me or showed me, filtered through the perception of me, and then edited. So either adding things or subtracting things that either I thought they did poorly and I thought that they did better. One of my things that my dad always told me, and he would always tell me that he just didn't, his relationship with his parents was pretty fucked up. Colombia, although it's Latino community, it's very much like the US. You have, except everybody's Colombian, but there's white, light-skinned Colombians, and then there's black Afro-Latino Colombians. Myself, I fall somewhere in the middle. He falls somewhere in the middle. But relative to his immediate family, like his brothers and sisters, my dad was the darkest of all of his brothers. Of all of his siblings, he was the darkest skinned. My grandfather was a white guy, a white looking guy, light brown hair, blue eyes, just a fucking white guy, white Spanish dude. And my grandmother was black. My grandmother looked like Aunt Jemima, is what I tell people. Well, that's what she did. And my grandmother and my grandfather loved each other, but deep down, my grandfather was still racist. He still had those generations of racism deep inside of him. He used to tell me, my dad used to tell me that my grandfather, his father, a lot of his family would inbreed, would fuck their cousins, sleep around with themselves to keep their bloodline pure. That is fucking nasty. They would fuck their cousins to keep their bloodline white. Up until my grandfather, who saw, my grandma, a Harriet Tubman looking motherfucker, and was like, that's a sexy ass black girl. I want to fuck that bitch. Boom. There go all my aunts and uncles, and there pops out my dad. But deep down, he held a lot of kind of previous generational racism or treatment of people with darker color skin. And he would pass that down to all his kids. So all the kids who were lighter skinned, he treated them better. He didn't treat my dad as good as them because he was dark skinned. So growing up in a farm in the middle of the Amazon rainforest, when my uncles who were light skinned were lounging around, hanging about, drinking with their friends, my dad had to bust his ass and work on the farm, work, um, either digging ditches, picking fruit, milking cows, doing all the livestock shit, just so his father could acknowledge him. Just so his father could look at him and say, okay, not even thank you, just okay. And it was, and even that, right? Imagine being treated like that by your piece of shit dad, just basically disliking you because you were born darker skinned than him. You know, he even told me when his dad died, he didn't cry. He wasn't sad. He just said he died. What am I gonna do? He wasn't a nice man. That sucks. You know. Now, if you take right, you know, if you take all of his experiences and you filter them through some acknowledgement over time where he had to have heard from other people that, hey, that was kind of fucked up. Like your childhood was kind of fucked up, man. Like that was pretty bad. Then he filtered out some things, and that's what I got. I got a filter of that fucking life. Now, it's because of my grandfather that my dad has always been called negrito, which is like little black boy. And that got passed down to me. And yeah, I understand. I've heard it all before. I've had fucking darker people tell me you're not black, like fucking sorry. I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I get it. I'm not as black as you, but I mean, I'm still part Afro Latino. Like, I still have those fucking genes in me. Like, I still get called dark by every other fucking white Mexican or every other white person that there is. Have you been to Orange County? I am the token black guy, or I was the token black guy in Orange County. And so I can definitely understand you. And that's why I can't hold it against him. I can't hold it against him because he didn't know any better. Because relative to his experience, my experience is a walk in the park. What I had to do to get his love, his approval, is do good in baseball, which I didn't do half the time. I still got yelled at, still got my ass beat. But when I did, he did acknowledge me and he did say, good job. Now, I hope, and I hope, and I hope that when the time comes that I need to make parental decisions for my kids, that I am not just going to immediately default to what my parents did. Because I know that's what a lot of us do. I mean, I've seen it with peers, with friends, with family. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just not saying it's not the best. Like, just because you got treated one way, it doesn't mean that they need to get treated the same way. When when my dad when my dad came back from Colombia for the first time since my parents divorced, which is about like 8 years, I think. Yeah, about 8 years. About 8 years. He left to Colombia. He retired. Went there. I got him a plane ticket to come hang out with us for about a month. He came out. He hung out with me in Irvine. We just in Orange County, if you don't know, we just hung around. I took him to sushi. I took him to go see his friends. I took him to all his medical visits. I just told him to relax, just relax, hang out. The whole time he was, because he's a hard dude. Like he's a very like tough exterior kind of guy. And the whole time, he was just sleeping, relaxing. He was just an old man. He was just worn out. And when he was leaving, or when I was getting ready for him to leave, he told me, and this is this is his way of saying that he loves me. This is the way that he's able to say it in those moments, because he says it over the phone because it's easy for him to say it and just hang up, but he can't stand the uncomfortableness of being in person. So he said to me, he said, Junior, so I'm a junior, he said, from all of my sons, he said, I feel that you have your balls put on the best. In Spanish, of course. He said, I feel like you have your balls on the best. Like, it was funny because my partner at the time, I let her know that he said that, and she didn't understand. She was like, "What?" She goes, "What does that mean?" Um, I started crying. I did. I started crying because it was the first time in 38 years or something that my dad has told me that, which is his way of saying, I love you. You did a good job. We all have issues that we deal with, right? I mean, it never ends. It's fucking constant. You think you fix something, and then 5 seconds later, you realize there's a bigger problem that I have that I'm dealing with. That not even, you know, most of the time it's I know I do this, but I just either don't think it's a problem, haven't understood that it's a problem, or are not at the point where I'm ready to change. I know that he changed. So why can't I? Why can't you? If a man who hated his parents so much, he left his house at 16 years old to travel from South America into college, and then travel up and through the United States, up and through different Central America countries, and all the way through Mexico, on foot or hitchhiking or on train and everything else. Who never showed any type of emotion for anything, to admit that he was wrong and change? Fuck. I got my ass beat over a stamp. A stamp. I didn't have to do hard labor though. I didn't get treated poorly because of the color of my skin in my own family. I mean, if that piece of shit can change, then this piece of shit can change. I can change. I can grow. So can you. It's funny. I didn't I started this talk without any. I didn't know what I was gonna do. Then Dad called. What do you know? It's it's one of those things, I guess. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Hopefully, I gave you some pearls of wisdom. And if I didn't, then that's okay too. I mean, this is probably the way that I guess I'm going to begin to show just the way that I see life or the way that I experience life. Life is beautiful. Sometimes it's a little crazy too. Have a good one, everybody.